Waiting for the attendees to populate. Good evening, Francois, Matt, Matthew, Stephen, Al, Christian, Alan.
There.
Looking good. Jonathan, hello. The other two attendees in the waiting room, well, they'll jump in a sec. Let's go ahead and take care of our administrative stuff. Call the meeting to order at 6:06. Mr. Fay, will you call a very quick roll?
Commissioner Holden.
Here.
Commissioner Barrio.
Here.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
Present.
Commissioner Trindade Duramo.
Present.
Commissioner Kenzik.
Present.
Commissioner Fay is here. Commissioner Lemon Strauss, not here. Commissioner Sycamore, not here. Commissioner Harris, not here. Chair Wilkins.
Present.
Chair Brandt.
Present.
Okay. With 6 of 9 plus 2 chairs, we have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We are going to speed through my section here right off the top. As we all know, I am doing the newsletter temporarily for the commission. This is why it is a bit late this month. As always, I am here to remind you that if you have community engagements coming up or events that you are aware of, please send them over to me. In fact, you might want to take this time to look ahead in your calendar for the next couple of weeks. And if there's anything ANC related that our constituents might like to know about or participate in, meetings about parks or bus lanes or, I'm looking around, MPD, please text, email, send them to me in some capacity. It's also good to put them on the calendar on our website, which I remind you contains not only ANC meetings, but also community events nowadays. Business from me for the agenda for next week. We have a guest speaker from the Board of Elections, you may recall, coming to teach us about ranked choice voting, which the district will be using for the first time ever this election cycle. As I understand it, the representative from the Board of Elections will be doing a presentation and Q&A in the 6:30 to 7 o'clock slot as always. And since our March 5th meeting is in person, don't forget, at the Josephine Butler Park Center on 15th Street. We will have some demo election equipment and sample ballots set up in an adjacent room. So attendees to the meeting, members of the public, once they hear the 30 minutes from 6:30 to 7, they can walk over and play with a voting machine and ask questions, hands-on kind of thing, from 7 o'clock onward while we are doing our other business. I obviously love that the Board of Elections is coming to do this. I love that there's an interactive component that we'll have in the separate room. I think that is worthy of some special promotion of this guest speaker. So for those of you who have neighborhood listservs or your own mailing lists or group chats on your blocks, I think this would be a nice thing to drop in there and let folks know in advance. They can come by, learn about the district's new election system so that they're prepared to vote in June. We have confirmed all of this, triple confirmed it with the BOE, so I think you're safe to go ahead and promote it. There will be, I think, a special announcement post on our website just about this visit, and I can send around that URL so you can share that easily with all the details. But please do mention it perhaps a bit more broadly than you would a standard commission meeting. Otherwise, we are also expecting a guest from DDOT, that has been confirmed, to speak about the performance parking zone in the first year of data, which they have finally crunched for us. As is usual, since we're in the Butler Center, Washington Parks and People is sort of plays host to us when we're there, and they would like a few minutes to speak to us in the community in our meeting as well. I've suggested that we reorder the agenda to put those two speakers first, right at 7 o'clock, instead of in the usual district agency section later, just for courtesy. I think that's unobjectionable, unless somebody objects.
I've put them at 7:05, just allowing time for the opening of the meeting and the passing of the consent agenda.
Thinking the national anthem, that makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Holden and I will be duetting the national anthem.
Good. We've been practicing.
I will definitely not be there then. Thank you for the warning.
Here, come on, Kenzik.
Are we doing anything, any food thing wise, pizza or anything like that?
Thank you for remembering, and thank you for volunteering to bring the pizza to the meeting, Alan.
Not a
I
problem.
am embarrassed to say I totally forgot that we have been doing that. I love doing that. Yeah, let's talk offline. The limit is $100 that we can spend on food and drink, so it's usually a little bit tight, but I think Francois reminded me we've done 4 pizzas from Andy's in the past.
We did two at least.
Hey,
Four or
hey,
two.
yeah, I'll take care of the difference. I'm not worried about it. We'll get some pizzas and some drinks. That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for reminding me. We'll talk
Thank you.
offline. Um, what else have we got? The meeting will be hybrid, of course, the in-person component that Josephine Butler, and at the very reasonable pleading of our admin staff, I am going to set an adjournment time at
Oh,
9:30 because we also have to fold all the chairs and take them upstairs, which you can't do after 10 p.m. The body just gives out. So that's all I have for next week. From me,
Can I make a
yes.
quick plea on the hybrid front? It does
Ooh.
take us a little bit of time to get set up as well. So we're working with the Office of the ANC to come and help us with the tech setup, but moving tables and chairs downstairs does take at least kind of 20 to 30 minutes. So if anybody, I know not everyone can, but if folks are able to arrive around 6, that means we can get the whole room set up before we start the guest speaker at 6:30. And then many hands just makes light work.
6 o'clock rally time for setup?
Yep.
Okay. I'm sure you and I will be there a bit before that,
And
which is
Kenzik, you're off
great.
the hook on the 6 a.m. because you're getting pizza. So well
Yeah,
done.
the pizza cannot arrive cold, so that needs to be 6:29.
Understood. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Cool. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just double checking. Sorry, before I forget. Yes, the Zoom is back at 6:30. Change back from 7. Cool. Very good. There are a few things from the executive committee floating around. One, the job description for our outreach consultant, Mr. Frey. We
I
will
know.
take care of that. It's pending. I want to start circulating that ASAP. Our understanding, I believe, is that we don't need to vote to authorize a budget for that. I think it's included in our
It's in the budget already.
budget for this year standing. Great. That is something I'll ask everyone to be circulating to their networks too, though, once we have finalized it. We will have a QFR for approval. I suspect you haven't received it yet. Is that true, Matt?
That is correct. I have not received a copy, but I will ping I'll ping Lemon Strauss now.
Okay. Thank you. So, we will also have, I think, also, Matt, to confirm if we can be ready by next week to have the application for the EAF about Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Alan, I'm not sure I mentioned this to you. We are going to apply the same way we have done for 2 other protest processes. We're going to apply for funding from the Expert Assistance Fund at OANC to cover some of the costs for Carrie's representing us in the matter of thirst.
I love that. Actually, Musali had suggested that the other day. I thought it was something we couldn't do because of financial, whatever they say, certain amount. But I guess it's a new thing with the OAG. So that's great. Great news.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're testing it out, Kenzik, but I'd say, and we'll talk more about this when we get to alcohol, but ABCA board is putting up a lot of hurdles, and we need help clearing those hurdles.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Very much so. And final thing related to that, I think we will have a motion to replenish the retainer for Carrie, our commission attorney who represents us in ABCA matters, since we have been spending a bit, and it's nice to keep that topped up. I believe the suggestion was to put 10,000 in that pot again. If you want to speak to that, or
Yeah, so the way the retainer works with Carrie Verdi, our attorney, is that when you put dollars into the retainer, they literally leave our bank account and go into hers, and then she draws down on them. Right now, we've got about $10,000 of OANC funds that we've applied for, plus the new 5,000. And so the thought was I'd actually be good authorizing 20,
I would
but
say at least 20. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
only transferring 10. And that
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
the 10 as it comes in from OANC can move directly from OANC allocation into the retainer. And I feel like it's just cleaner from a financial reporting perspective.
yeah.
I don't want to authorize 20 and then get the 10 and hold on to the 10. So I think if we can authorize up to 20, but with a commitment to transfer $10,000 into her retainer, and then we'll then transfer the money as it comes in from OANC. into that retainer pool as well.
Great.
Okay, that'll be on the agenda next week. And that's it for the executive committee. Any questions quickly before we move on? Cool. Business from committees. Please submit your minutes by tomorrow. Please submit your minutes by tomorrow so that we don't have a last minute rush this Wednesday and Thursday trying to prepare the agenda packet. And also your committee reports, the submissions of the form.
Almost everybody's submitted theirs at this
Almost
point, which is
everybody.
great. So Holden, I got yours today. Hanrahan, I got yours, I think, yesterday. So thank you for that. And then Al, Christian, and Francois, you all submitted yours in the portal. So I pulled those over into the draft already. So we're actually in a much better shape. And I will be honest, I'm just going to maybe set the expectation with this group. I'm going to start working on the agenda on Sunday nights. And then that way you'll all get an email from me on the things that I'm missing. But that actually helped a lot because I'm now starting Monday with everything I need, which is great. So thank you for all the stuff you've sent.
Much appreciated, guys. I think Francois won the race this month. That's awesome.
Did I
He's still
actually?
going. He's still going off that high from the general density. Of course he is. He's excited. It's a good thing,
Is
He's a great move.
that's exit velocity, just stratospheric. It's
I
great.
thought I didn't submit my minutes, to be honest, but
No,
No,
sorry,
not your minutes,
the
your bullets.
form.
the form. Yes, I submitted the form. I still need to send the
The
minutes.
form's what counts. That's what wins it.
I also thought I hadn't submitted anything.
You did. It said, oh, you know what? Actually, Christian, by default, I just said you didn't meet. So I said
Okay,
preparing for March topics.
great.
Oh, he got full credit because he canceled his meeting. That's the easy way out, you guys. Honestly.
Yes, just cancel
It is
everything.
canceled.
You don't have to do anything.
Okay, not endorsed by me. Yes, great. Thank you very much. Let's go through committees. Let's keep it pretty brief. Stephen, if you would lead off, set the tone.
The tone of Abker. Yeah, we had another busy meeting again. I think we had three protests. And then we actually had a variety of things at our Abker meeting. We have a great list of like administrative kind of policy projects that we're working on now, which is I think fun. Better than just talking about like protesting. We like talking about the site walk we did in 9.5 Street, and then following up the testimony at the performance oversight hearing. Talked a little bit about following up the resolution. So this half of our meeting now is like this like policy ongoing things. So that's good. And then we had this like kind of variety of licensees come in. We had the two streetery ones for that were like re-advertised streeteries because now it's becoming formalized. The streetery program is becoming alive again. I'm not sure. Um, we yes, we didn't end up choosing not to protest those. We had a lot of discussion about that. But we did have some protests for MKU Street for a summer garden expansion. We already protesting their original license because it's like a new business and the settlement agreement is not congruent with the new business. And then they added this summer garden. So this
Sorry,
protest,
which license was that?
that license is MK Lounge on
Oh,
U
yeah, yeah.
Street.
Okay.
MK Lounge on U Street. And then we also had a protest for Chicha Lounge, which we had protested for before. We have there's like some sound noise concerns there. Um, we protested before, but then they didn't show up, and then they renewed again. So just kind of continuing that. And then a new applicant, Icon DC, the 11 at 201 11th Street. New placard. Been in conversation with the owner, but the committee recommended to protest mostly on the grounds of the late night operating hours concerns. And then we the committee recommended to support Whitlow's settlement agreement change. So that's been in the works for a while. So pretty happy to have, seems like that's concluding now. Yeah, but we had a substantial change. We had a renewal. We had a new business, Emmett Streetery. So it was like a lot of stuff going on.
Was the committee able to talk about the resolution we sent over about the SOP changes, or were you guys too busy with
Yes, that
actual
is in our
business?
administrative section as well. We
Okay,
talked about it, and we talked about how we're going to come to the March meeting with bright new ideas for
cool.
that, reflecting on that.
Okay, very nice. Any questions on those? Okay, fantastic. Community Engagement Committee, Mr. Wilkins, please.
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Perfect.
welcome.
Thank you. So really three updates from our meeting that we had last week. The first one, we had Jeffrey Willis from the Vermont Garden Project join us and present his proposal for their 23rd, I believe, annual garden workshop that's going to be happening later in the spring, which Miguel, I will send you the information for the newsletter and the calendar. But we're requesting $500 grant for that, which we did approve. I think one of the interesting things that we briefly chatted about was how can ANC continue to support the project beyond just the day of planting throughout the year. So discussed a few ideas there, and then there were two motions. I know Mike in the past has talked about us having discussed SOPs. So the first motion was around how the timeline for supporting requests for grants and community engagement activities. So we made a motion to update the SOP to 6 weeks or 45 days, which we had a great discussion about, which led to our second discussion, which was around what support are we providing to this group as well as the broader ANC, whether it's helping with the marketing, making sure things are in the newsletter, on the website, as well as any canvassing that can happen, and are there best practices when hosting block parties or other community engagement activities. So I'll be sharing those more of those details, but a really good discussion. I think one thing that I would just stress or offer is that as different groups are planning upcoming events, definitely keeping us in the loop, whether you're requesting dollars or not, and brainstorming with you how we can support getting community members and neighbors to those events.
Al, do you have any resolutions or proposed formal changes to the the bylaws or the what are they, operating procedures?
I do, and I will get those to you along with my minutes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we need to add two placeholders on the agenda for those,
Yes.
The
or is it just one?
Yeah, let's send them in writing. I don't think I saw them. I saw your email mentioning that there were motions, but if you have them, at the fully written out,
Yeah.
let's take a look by email since we are planning an SOP updates, like a batch of updates. I don't know, maybe 2 months from now or so. I think we can just handle them all
Okay.
together.
That makes
So
sense.
maybe it's not something we'll do next week at the commission meeting, but I'll roll them into. We have the motion previously about the committee offering support in terms of like in cases of local emergencies. That one I've already worked into SOP language, so I can take these two and roll them all together.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. The Public Safety Committee, Commissioner Barrio.
Yeah, not too much to report. I submitted some testimony to the council oversight hearing about the Department of Parks and Recreation, because we, have had a lot of discussions in the committee about how we can better engage youth, because, our youth are very important, and we want to provide young people and students with alternatives to, the large gatherings that we're seeing on U Street that are, dangerous to themselves and to the public. And so, we want there to be more spaces that are available throughout the day and in the evenings at recreation centers. So I submitted that testimony. Supposedly, DPR actually has to respond to all of the submitted testimony. So we'll see what they say in response to some of the ideas and concerns I'd laid out there. I am hoping to also have the ANC pass a resolution based off what we hear back from DPR, as well as, additional conversations that we have in the committee. So yeah, that's primarily what we've been working on. Still trying to figure out how we submit this partnership application with DPR, with a martial arts academy in the area. It sounds like the window may have been missed for the spring season, but we can submit a permit application in April. I'm still trying to figure that out, but that's also something that we're working on.
What's the specific grant opportunity?
Basically, we are hoping that this martial arts academy, one of the members of the committee is the founder of Beta Academy, which is right on 14th and Florida. And, through our conversations and talking with DPR, it seemed like the DPR does partnerships, and it seemed like a great opportunity to try to pilot a program of martial arts classes for kids, especially, vulnerable youth. And so to get that off the ground, DPR is saying we need to apply for a permit application. They were saying the ANC should do it. It's a little confusing how to actually submit that permit application and if we've already missed the window for the upcoming season. So I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're worried they're just passing the buck by
yeah,
not really responding to our partnership application, but we'll find out.
yeah. Okay. Keep in touch, since I know that business has been interested in working with MPD and other agencies, and I hope
Yeah, it just seems like an
I
easy
hope we don't
win
throw up too
and
many
a
barriers.
connection we've made. So I really hope that something can happen here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Transportation Committee, so 12 resolutions,
We have
sir.
a lot of stuff. Depending on how long we think the agenda is going to be, since we have some guests and things, I would be okay with bumping the ADA resolution to next month, just because there's no timeline on that. That's just kind of committee driven. And it's something the committee will want to see brought to the ANC, but we could bump it for time if we need to, especially for any by 9:30. So that one is kind of a sister resolution to, in the fall, we had a resolution on expanding who can apply to the reserved ADA space program, because right now only single family homes can allow for it. So we said let people who live in multifamily apply also. So this one is just kind of also expanding the notion of ADA parking outside of commercial areas and this reserve space situation, and having like unassigned parking spaces in more parts of town. So asking DDOT to look at how they would implement putting ADA spaces on like residential streets that aren't assigned to a particular person. They've tried to pilot this in a couple locations in the past, and I think they've just done like one-off spots. There's no like systematic approach. So it's asking them to think about a bigger approach. So that's that one, but we could bump it. It's fine. So then there's also a resolution. I think Miguel will talk about it when he talks about SMD business, but about supporting the Friends of Meridian Hill / Malcolm X Park / Washington Parks and People on like the 90th anniversary of the park, and trying to encourage the city / the National Park Service to like kind of create more of like a real like park city government regular person like partnership that could help like manage the park better, just have more resources in the park. That resolution is still under development. Some committee members are working on it, so hope to have that soon. The next two resolutions on the agenda, bullet point B, is like two resolutions actually, and this comes from Commissioner Fay. It's kind of like a follow-on to something we talked about a couple months ago with the S Street closure and like traffic changes. And so it's kind of identified some locations that could potentially use traffic calming and asking DDOT to like look into that. And there's two resolutions because one kind of focuses on the east side of the neighborhood and one focuses on the west. The next one I'm also waiting on a draft, but if you saw some chatter about this, it's been in the news that the DOT, federal DOT, Secretary Duffy, is considering like removing bike lanes in the city. It's a little unclear exactly where they would want to remove them. Yeah, it's coming from like federal DOT. And so, especially, I think in places where the federal government has more interest, so like Pennsylvania Avenue or 15th Street across the mall, and places like that. So there's rumors that they're going to target 15th Street, and that one, goes through, it goes through partially my district, but it goes through other people's districts too. It goes through our SMD, and so what we're working on is kind of like a resolution touting the benefits of 15th Street in particular, but kind of leave it a little bit broad because we're not just concerned about 15th Street, we're concerned about other bike lanes too, because it's a whole network. And asking DDOT, the mayor's office, council to protect the bike lanes, and then, potentially we would send it to federal stakeholders as well. So that's what that one's about. Already talked about ADA. And then the last one is maybe the most simple. It's a letter of support for a notice of intent for 10th and Berry Place Northwest. This has been a tactical roundabout that visually is a little confusing. I think it was better than just the big weird intersection that was there before. It's kind of like diagonal, and the intersection itself is quite wide. So they built a temporary roundabout, and they're finally building it to permanent with like actual concrete, and it should look a lot nicer and traffic flow should be better. So mostly the committee supported it. Commissioner Sycamore joined us, and he had some comments from his constituents because it's in his district that he wanted to incorporate in the letter. So I'm waiting for his comments for that before we have the full letter, but they were kind of simple comments. So
this is the one that's on Florida and 10th.
Yeah, in like Berry Place, 10th and
Yeah,
Berry
so
Place in Florida. Yeah.
we have to be careful with that only because of the fact that if we're going to put concrete in, within a week of those barriers being put up, buses hit them constantly when they were going like down that road that goes to Whole Foods. Only knowing because I worked out of that service center for 3 years, and the last year and a half it was there. Like, so I was parking there every day. I still drive by it every day. And there's constantly cars that are kind of hitting that roundabout. So I just want to make sure that if we do it, we're articulate so people aren't ruining their cars, and or the city buses can't fit through. And I can show you, I can take pictures of exactly where the buses still every day hit, just so, when DDOT's constructing this or whatever, they can be a little bit more thoughtful with that process, or DOB, whoever.
Yeah, if you want to, if you have any specific comments, I know some of Sycamore's comments were like concerned about some parking impacts on one of the legs, and then making sure that tractor trailers and larger vehicles like commercial vehicles could fit through. So I think those are going to be what he sends. So I think some of your concerns are maybe covered by his comments, but we could
yeah, that actually sounds about right. And I don't really get the parking. That shouldn't impact any parking.
I agree with you, Commissioner. Based off the plan, it didn't look like it was changing any parking. Like, it was
right.
The same parking condition as there is now. I think just some neighbors were concerned about it, so they wanted to put it in.
It's always that line of neighbors there, and I know because it is tight parking, and I understand it. But I think as long as the bus can fit through in the beginning, it's going to be the same kind of allotment. There really shouldn't be. So really, I just agree with this first sentiment then about the larger vehicles. I think that makes sense, and I do think that it actually, surprising enough, has worked very well compared to what it used to be. I was a little bit against it at first, thinking that I just thought it would be a pain in the ass, but it's flowed pretty well, and there's been very minimal accidents. So it's actually been a positive. With concrete, it'll just be safer for the pedestrians walking through there, especially the elder pedestrians that live right there at that I don't want to say the wrong name, but I know Commissioner Umar lives there. Great place. But yeah, so I love it. It sounds really good. Really good.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's the last one. So hopefully we'll have, uh, I'll share those as I get them.
As part of the concrete, are they gonna like permanently fixture some of like the yield signs? Because I think they just like fall down a lot when it gets like windy. I don't know if that's part of the plans, but that
Yeah, there's the plan is confusing a little bit because there's so many signs on the plan.
mm,
But yeah, I think new signage is definitely part of at least the plan that they sent around. That's part of the notice of intent. So yeah, I think a more permanent win in some of the concrete, because some of the concrete they're doing is actually building out pedestrian crossing islands instead of like the kind of like tactical flex posts marking one. And
Yeah.
there's
okay,
some signs on those, so they should be sturdier.
okay,
Yeah, and Commissioner Hanneran, they also are planning on, from what I've seen, they're going to be actually buried into the ground and or around the concrete. So they're not going to have, right now they currently just have that heavy barrier at the bottom, which, like you said, knocks over every time a heavy wind goes through and takes good semester pedestrians like myself to get out of the car and pick them up. But realistically, they won't be like that anymore with this new design.
okay, great. Thanks.
If nothing further, we can turn to Mr. Brent.
Hi everyone. How are you? Caught me mid peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Um,
I can go longer.
um,
Gotta at least get a ramen cup, Christian.
Best
goodness.
report, right? Best report ever.
And peanut butter makes it hard to chew. So, okay, so we didn't meet in February, and largely that is because actually we aren't meeting in February. It was going to be right after this. But the reason we didn't do that is because we didn't have anything to discuss. There's no new development that has come in front of CPD, so we haven't gotten any zoning stuff or any historic preservation review board stuff. There is a case actually that's on Swan Street, just outside of our um, that's in the U Street Historic District. But it's just right outside of our ANC, so we're not reviewing it. But that's kind of the only thing that's from that perspective that's come up. Um, there's a couple of pieces of legislation that have been, well, I mean, one of them is new, one of them is not new, one of them is at least a year old that the council is considering. One is the One Front Door Act. The other is the Fair Share Housing. I can't remember the exact title of it. I think it is the Fair Share Housing Targets Act. These are of interest to the ANC, or sorry, at least to the ZPD. And so I was going to try to have folks, they're both co-sponsored and or introduced by Councilmember Nagetto. So I was going to try to get people from her office to join us this month, but they were not available. So we're punting that to March, which seems to be fine with that timeline. So we didn't meet, but next month, at the very least, we will be talking about those two pieces of legislation. Um, I know also, Matt, at the last ANC meeting, your gentle density resolution was, I think, referred. I don't know if that was the actual language, but it was referred to the ZPD. So theoretically,
And I'll talk about that when
yeah,
I give
we
my
could
report.
talk about that too. And then we do have one new member who joined us, and so we'll be introducing them uh, in March as well. But that's kind of the stuff on our plate.
Christian, are the two things that you referenced, because I didn't pay attention to the exact term, I paid attention to the content.
Mm-hmm.
Nadeau dropped a bill to redo or restructure the Housing Production Trust Fund, which has
Um,
definitely got my attention. Is that something that you guys are looking at?
yes, there's two bills that she has introduced that are similar.
Yeah.
One is the Fair Share Housing Targets Act, I think, unless I'm misremembering because I haven't looked at it
I
since this
think it's
morning. But
different because she's
yeah,
basically looking at restructuring Housing Production Trust Fund
yes,
to like create funding mechanisms. I'm still reading. I haven't
yeah.
formalized my opinion on it yet, but I'm kind of halfway through. So I'll reach out to you separately on that, just so we stay coordinated.
I'm planning to ask the so it turns out that the her staff is not available for March either. And so
It's the last year, Christian. There's a lot to do.
instead what we're going to be doing is I'm meeting with them separately. and I'm going to sort of do a deep dive into these pieces of legislation so that I can introduce them to the committee, and we can decide whether or not we want to work on a resolution together about it. And I read about the one that you were just talking about, Matt, over the weekend. And I was planning to add that to the list, but the fair share housing targets one is specifically about giving the mayor the ability to adjust housing production targets if we are not meeting them. There's way more nuance into it that I am not able to communicate to you at the moment. And then the One Front Door Act, I think some of you are familiar with this. It's more of a building code thing, but it's also of interest
Sounds
to
good.
the
If
committee.
you do end up having a conversation with the office about the Housing Production Trust Fund, I'd love to join you.
Sure.
The other two I feel like are very much in the zoning, but I'd love to stay involved in the housing production.
I'll forward you. I have an appointment set up with David Minnie
Yeah, great.
for sometime in the first week in March next week. So I don't remember which day it is, but I'll forward it to you.
Would you
Sounds good.
mind just copying me as well? I'm just
Sure.
curious.
Yeah, I
And then
don't know a lot about either of these pieces of legislation, so I think I'll just have a lot of questions and hopefully he'll be able to sort of walk through what the purpose of them is.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear how it goes.
And then Christian, there is a zoning map amendment that I am tracking that has not yet been submitted, but a notice has gone out. It is going to impact some property that is adjacent to Howard University, right on the edge of Francois' SMD and mine. And we actually have a good template that we used that the ANC approved last year, where we worked with both the Florida Avenue Baptist Church and the Howard University on their proposal to upzone.
Yeah.
So I'll get some time with you, talk about it. But what we'd like to do is to have some consistency across those parcels.
Has it been, you're saying that this is, you are aware that this is going to be proposed, but it's not actually.
The public notice to owners within 200 feet of the property went out, noting that within 45 days, they would be submitting their application. They did in that notice indicate that they would be reaching out to the ANC as is required by the zoning
Okay.
zoning board.
I don't think they've done that yet.
No, they have not. I'm
Okay.
just giving you a
Good.
heads up and letting you know that we've actually got
You made me feel like I'd missed something, Matt.
no, sorry. Yeah, it's up. That's why I said it's upcoming. I'm tracking it,
Great.
and I want time with you so that you're not
Happy
surprised
to.
and that we can stay coordinated.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good. That's it.
Okay, great.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the extra time to meet on your own time out of committee time. I appreciate that. I realize, Mr. Fay, I'm sorry, ED committee was a little orphan there at the bottom of the page, and I just zoomed right past it. So please take it
Purely a
away.
formatting issue. Couple of basic updates. One is the zoning board did finalize and release its decision on 1617 U Street. I got a copy of that from DemPed early in the week. If anybody would like a copy of it, I'm happy to send it around. Just throw up your hand on Zoom and I'll copy you. Great. The 1620V has not yet been released yet. And so, but they anticipate that that's going to be released shortly. As I shared with the committee, and I'll share again at our public meeting, in speaking with DemPed, they do not anticipate that there is going to be any kind of action on 1617 U Street for several months to come, given other priorities and general economic conditions. But we have committed to working with DemPad on a kind of every 60-day check-in cycle. There was a news release that came out this morning in the Washington Business Journal based upon testimony provided by, again, DemPed at their oversight hearing to council on Friday about the status of the Reeves Center. So I sent that Washington Business Journal article around to all of you. Al, you're the only one I didn't copy, but I'm happy to send you one as well. And it essentially says that they are planning to kind of, if I go chronologically here, they are going to submit their final development plan to council for council's feedback sometime in kind of the May-June timeframe. That is the same time that plan becomes public and then would come to economic development and to this commission for review and feedback, public hearing, et cetera. So we anticipate that our May or June meeting is going to be very much focused on giving feedback on that Reeves Center plan. And then council will, essentially make their decision, I anticipate, probably by the fall. And then the next kind of big piece to pay attention to is that they are going to break the project into two parts. The first part would be the commercial, which would include the NAACP headquarters, the hotel, and some of the public and performance spaces. And then the second phase, that would, they hope, kind of release in 28. And then the second phase, timeline TBD, would be more focused on the mixed use and affordable housing that they're committed to that site. So, we're getting a little bit of traction there, and I'm going to be inviting the DemPed lead for the Reeve Center to come to our March meeting and to give a presentation and an update. And at that point, I'm hoping to pin down both the timeline that we would be receiving the development plan and the scope to which we would be able to provide meaningful feedback on that plan. I think this is the last thing. Oh, it just generally, we've got a framework that we are using and will be fleshing out around economic development strategies and initiatives along the U Street corridor. Essentially, the Economic Development Committee is very concerned, very frustrated that we are losing a huge number of small businesses, and for that matter, larger commercial franchise businesses that are leaving the U Street corridor and leaving a lot of empty spaces behind. And so we are putting some energy into fleshing out a framework and a plan and engaging small business owners to think about how we can revitalize the economy of the U Street corridor. Essentially, our thinking is that we can only do so much as an ANC, but we know that we have got to do something and start having a plan that we've got a fair amount of buy-in to be again advocating and lobbying, people far more important than us. So anybody who wants to participate in that, you're welcome. We'd love to have you. And then finally, as it relates to general density, that was proposed as a alternative to the resolution that ultimately was passed. The committee had submitted it for reasons that I had delineated in several emails. We discussed very briefly, and the committee decided unanimously that in the interest of focusing the energies of both the committee and this commission on initiatives that are primarily impacting our own ANC area, that we would be withdrawing that resolution, and there is no need for further consideration at this time. We are hopeful that our focus will shift to the comp planning, and again, things that impact directly this commission area. So I'll be communicating that in a written email to this group, but just know that's being withdrawn. So Christian, thank you for your emails. But I suspected that was the way we were going to go, and so we didn't want you to be wasting your time
Sounds good.
giving feedback when we were going to be withdrawing it.
Matt, can I ask a quick unrelated question, but about
Sure.
the Reeve Center?
Yeah.
I know that there's been a lot of process about this for a while, but do you know, I haven't read the Business Journal article, but do you know if that the development plan will require rezoning? I'm assuming it probably will.
So it's a good question. It's currently zoned as Art 7, which actually
Yeah,
allows the same height and I think the same density as a mixed use 10, which right
right.
now is the highest density that's allowable in the corridor. So from a height and density perspective, I don't think that they need to rezone. However, at the meeting in May of 25, when the DemPed representative came and presented, one of the things that she did say is that there were discussions ongoing about the potential of rezoning.
Cool.
And I also think that there may have been discussions about the inclusion of some immediately adjacent properties that touch the Reeve Center, especially in the back, that they were thinking about potentially expanding the footprint of the Reeve
Got it.
Center development to include more structures, and that would require rezoning specifically there.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you
Cool. And
very
the
much.
only other thing I want to comment
Yep.
on is just an update on Unity, but I can do that in the commissioner announcements.
You can take it now. It's just me after this, and then we're done.
Yeah, cool. Really quickly, I just want to let the whole commission know, and anybody obviously who's participating from the community. This commission, I'm incredibly proud of the work that we did. I'm very grateful for the resources that we invested. This group organized a very effective protest of Unity Lounge's application for 6 a.m. operating hours. I am not saying anything here that is not already in the public record. The Unity's owner specifically said that he wanted to operate until 6 a.m. so that he could compete with Cloud Lounge, who was illegally selling alcohol after hours. and that the only way that he could compete and have his business be more successful was to run in the same operation standard that Cloud Lounge was operating in. The board, hearing that, said, you should run until 6 a.m. The board universally ignored the testimony of the ANC. That is broadly the neighbor who was represented, myself that was represented, the representation of our attorney, the investigator who did some on-site work, as well as Frank Chauvin representing the Westminster Neighborhood Association, who was a co-participant in this protest. We looked at our options. The ANC decided, and by that I mean me, because it was inconsistent with the policy that we had created. We decided to challenge and that decision from the ANC board, and we asked them to reconsider. So there is a motion to reconsider. It is actually very well structured. We put a lot of kind of thought into what the specific issues were. I'm going to only highlight one of the four major issues, and that is that ABCA's own legal standard states in black and white that if the applicant on the burden of proof falls on the applicant, if the applicant fails to provide any evidence, then that is grounds for the dismissal of their application. The board chose, in the absence of testimony or proof from the applicant, the board chose to fill in their own testimony and their own facts and to create their own narrative about why an approval should be given. And so that is one of four major areas that we called out as being contrary to the law under which they make their decisions. We have asked them for a reconsideration. I suspect that we will not have a decision back from them before 60 days. And then we do have Cloud Lounge's protest coming up on Wednesday the 4th next week. That is the one where there is documentation of them illegally serving alcohol after 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And so we'll be moving forward with the protest there. But I just wanted this group to be alerted because it is kind of bringing to light, at least for me, and so I want you to know as well, just what an uphill battle we are fighting and that I think other ANCs are fighting to get the attention of the ABCA board on legal issues and to be able to have standing, meaningful standing in these protests and in these deliberations. So we're continuing to fight the good fight, but I want folks to know Francois and I also met with members of the Westminster community last night. That group is, I would say, equal parts angry and dejected. And again, it's not just because of this one case, it's things that have happened over the years. And so there are some conversations about kind of where do we go from here. And I think the commissioners and this commission should be participating in those next steps, and we can delineate them as we get them firmed up.
There have been, and Carrie really did a masterful job on that motion to reconsider. I appreciated that a lot. Someone asked Director Musali at our last commission meeting about engaging directly with the board. I'm assuming that was Stephen. I don't remember exactly what his response was. I don't think the board members don't really have a habit of doing direct ANC engagement or public engagement. Did he offer us any other advice about how to sort of catch their attention on these things?
Yeah, I feel like there was like some like foreshadowing that was like, think about the board and think about how fair they are. And then we heard the unity decision. And I was like, oh, that's not good. Yeah, I think it came up a lot at the hearing too, testimony, just like there's no representation from Ward 1 on any of the board members. There's like, it's like someone from 4, 5, 7, and 8, but there's no one from Ward 1 or Ward 2, which has like the most amount of licenses. I think I asked him if we could, what his thoughts were about if we could ask someone from the board, the chair of the board, to talk, to be like a guest speaker at our committee or like at the ANC commission meeting. I think he said it's like worth a shot on email. So maybe I think that's still something to explore. And then I think all the committee too is also considering like a further resolution just about like the representation on the board. I think there are supposed to be 8 seats, I don't know so much about the board, but I think there's supposed to be more seats, and I think that more representation could be given there for especially like Ward 1 and 2, which has the most amount of licenses in that perspective, or also like a member who's like more of like a community liaison or something.
Sure. Okay. Let's, do we want to make an approach to see if but Matt, I don't think we have guest speakers lined up past March anymore.
Oh, we don't. So we could always reach out and we could ask them. I mean, I want to give Councilmember Nadeau some credit, who's been recently assigned responsibility for ABCA oversight. And in the oversight hearing, one of her comments that was reported back to me was essentially a question, is your board always trying to get to yes? And essentially she was hearing something similar, which is, it almost doesn't matter what any of the ANCs or community members or other businesses, contribute in testimony. This board is committed to getting to a yes answer on just about everything. As we get to Cloud Lounge, that's going to be problematic, because you have an establishment that is breaking the law. And so it's going to be, frankly, a real test of the board to see if they are willing to exercise the authority that is granted to them by the District of Columbia government, to enforce the law. So we'll see where that goes, but I don't think we should wait to begin, our engagement efforts, and to ramp up our discussions about, how we navigate, the challenges that we're starting to see come to light.
Okay, very good. Thank you, guys. Thanks very much. That's about it for significant business. I have a couple things here listed for myself on the SMD business. And maybe, Francois, you want to talk about murals? I noticed that you skipped that there. Just quickly dovetailing with what Commissioner Holden said about Meridian Hill Malcolm X Park. It is its 90th anniversary. And I know that Washington Parks and People has commissioned something they're calling the State of the Park report, which I think will be published imminently. I don't know a lot about it. Tying into that is what Commissioner Holden reported, that the Washington Parks and People is hoping to reactivate the organization that used to be called Friends of Meridian Hill Park. We are eagerly watching those developments. Obviously, it impacts me. The park is in my district. Very close with that organization, so I'll keep everyone here updated. Could be something interesting over the summer to have the commission involved in sort of recruiting and advising and making connections for. One concrete thing that we have been talking about is just doing a very casual sort of neighborhood town hall with the NPS superintendent to talk about the restoration work that's going on in the fountain, which has now been expanded to include turf restoration on the upper plaza, which is exciting / devastating because we will lose access to our backyard and our beachfront for probably most, if not all, of the summer. My neighbors have been crying quite a bit about it, myself included. But obviously something that's long overdue to replace the grass species, make it more resilient, and kind of end the dust bowl effect that happens up there a lot. So I think it'd be a great thing for the ANC to offer to host the town hall with the NPS superintendent. Again, I think it could be very casual. Could be the kind of thing that's yeah.
I was just going to say, I think we should definitely also press them on how they're going to maintain Meridian Hill after America 250, because as I understand it right now, there's a huge push from the president to beautify DC in 2026, but I don't think MPS has the staffing to really, and the maintenance department to really maintain the fountain and the grass beyond this year. So, yeah, I mean, and that's not necessarily their fault. Well, to some extent it is, but I think that's something to push them on.
That's a really, really great point, because when I first moved here 10 years ago, that park had areas working, and just slowly over time, little by little, has just deteriorated even worse. So the fact they're putting all this money in, and they've said it themselves that they don't have the people to maintain and keep up with this. So that is something that we should absolutely, if we want to keep Malcolm X Meridian Hill Park and moving forward in a better standing, that's something we should definitely bring up.
You will have a very sympathetic ear in the current superintendent when you raise those concerns. I don't know. I mean, he gets his budget for Rock Creek Park and has to allocate it, and that's kind of it from him. But it will be interesting to pose that question. The irony escapes no one's notice that NPS's contracting and procurement offices were very heavily affected by cuts under Doge at the beginning of last year, and so their capacity to even just like hire landscaping crews when they need extra support is very diminished. So yeah, it's a great point. I mean, we have to kind of hang our hat on like the grass being replaced with a more resistant species, which is what they did on the National Mall. So hopefully it can fend for itself a bit, right? Correct. Although I mean, we don't have to go into a whole thing about this, but also NPS, doesn't have a lot of expertise in urban park planning. So I think they still like to pretend that there are no dogs running around in Malcolm
And
X Park,
you
and
know what,
so they
Chair,
don't make plans around it. Yeah.
you've done a great job too keeping that park up. Let's give it to you. A lot of props. Maybe you could start doing it weekly, every weekend.
Yeah.
You could go up there, clean up everything. I mean, that would be amazing. And I'm sure 1B06 and every other 1B and our neighboring areas would love that so much.
We finally got a new commissioner. The seat across 16th Street and 1C was vacant for a long time, but we got a new commissioner over there who also loves the park. So we're going to start burden sharing, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of bottom line on that is that if the conversations about, could we create a park improvement district, or what does it look like to do a sort of Glen Echo or Franklin Square model for Meridian Hill are still necessary, once we get over the high of the one-time spend.
So, sorry, Stephen had his hand up, and then I put mine up. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, or I was gonna make a fuss about if there could be a like designated dog unleashed area, like a dog area. I know it's like maybe a hot topic. I probably come on more anti-dog here. But I feel like that's an avenue to
Oh
explore. But
my
then
God. I
also,
can't believe you
sorry,
did
sorry. But then also
it.
fundamentally, I think there's bathrooms. Bathrooms are the biggest thing. But I don't know. We're turning about
Yeah.
grass. I feel like you can't talk about the grass without talking about the dogs.
No, but that's a great point. I mean, the dogs do run kind of wild up there. So that is a great point to have a designated area like all other parks in the city do. I mean, they have an area that's gated just for animals to be off their leash. And it also keeps down on liability and everything else.
I'd be happy to have that. I think NPS just has internal rules for parks that don't distinguish very well between urban parks. I don't even know if they have a separate structure for urban parks. And go to whatever Yellowstone or whatever. It's animals must be on leashes, and that rule applies equally here. And I think that's pretty inflexible. Unfortunately, it's just the reality of a federal property.
A quick question I was going to ask is Commissioner Holden. I love the idea of a very, very thoughtful, robust partnership that is between Washington Parks and People, the community, NPS. So if your resolution is not feeling like it's coming together as well as you'd like it, maybe it's something that gets pushed into April, and that we can pass something that's really, really strong, because I don't want to do kind of a half measure here. I like the idea of this being the start of something that could create a real productive partnership and begin integrating this neighborhood and that park together.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll have a better answer on that in a couple days.
Cool.
Did you guys hear that? That song? That means we're wrapping up, I believe. 7:04. I think we're almost done.
Can I
It's
quickly
so
mention the murals?
yes.
Okay, so basically, the latest update on the mural project is that we are still hoping to paint some garage doors on 9.5 Street with some murals. Hopefully, we've already gotten a lot of interest from owners of those properties. So, our goal is to still have a block party in the spring, potentially in May, where neighbors can help actually paint the garage doors. And we could also commission one mural to be on a wall on the street, potentially one of the apartment buildings, some of which we've spoken with already and some of which we still need to speak with. So I will send out more details because we are finalizing our brochure, basically pitching the mural project that we're hoping to distribute to various property owners in the area. But we are going to be sending that to the ANC this week. And we are still finalizing, but we are considering requesting funds from the ANC for an initial amount that would help basically cover the supplies for these murals. This would allow us to just have the flexibility to start to purchase supplies if needed, as well as if there need to be further revisions at an ANC meeting in April or in May, we could make those. But ideally we could start with an initial amount of money somewhere between, somewhere around $2,000 where we could purchase supplies or have the flexibility at least to purchase supplies for those murals, while the community and potentially apartment buildings in the area would be able to contribute for the cost of hiring an artist. So that is the rough status. Like I said, I will send more information definitely before our next meeting, and we'll come prepared with a full proposal that will list out the specific expenses and why we're requesting the amount of money that we're requesting.
I like the idea of a matching program, just so that it's not a
Hmm.
surprise later on. But I like the idea of matching where if the ANC were to contribute 1,500 or $2,000, that
Hmm.
the community is committed, WNA, homeowner
Hmm.
associations, et cetera, are
Sure,
committed to
yeah.
also kind of raising and contributing that same amount. I feel like that's a nice balance.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I will say there's a program, there's a grant program that's I will find the name, but it's the Public Arts Building Grant Program, something like that. That the neighbor on 9.5 Street Suda has learned a lot more about. She's spoken with the program manager actually for that grant program. And so we're planning to apply for that. That is sort of a longer term project because that funding wouldn't be available till October if we were to be awarded a grant. And the idea there was that we could use that money for a potentially much larger mural or set of murals. There's some beautiful walls on the Grimkey building that could potentially be used for some sort of historical mural or a mural related to the dance studio that's in the basement there. So we are hoping to secure additional funds for a sort of grander vision of murals in the area. But for now, just because that's very uncertain and because ANC terms are short and we want to get something done. I think that this would be a great way for us to get some paint on walls, start to beautify the area, get momentum moving, and then from there we can build and add more murals to more spaces as we're able to secure additional funding and secure additional walls after talking with property owners in the area.
Really cool. Yeah, happy to consider it. Let make sure you have I's dotted and T's crossed with Denise before coming over. I know you've talked with her about it, but once you put your proposals together, send
Yeah,
it all through her. I know it's supplies, not labor, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and I definitely want to go to a community engagement meeting, Al. I spoke with Suda. We would definitely love to attend. I know that it's happening after the next meeting, but like I said, I think if we are to request funds at the next meeting, it would just be a small initial amount, and then we would be fleshing this out further. But our idea is that we could actually go to an artist and say we're able to pay for. We've spoken with some artists already to understand what the costs are, but we would be able to go to artists and say we have up to $4,000 combined from the ANC in the neighborhood for supplies. How much would it cost for you to do a design? And could we apply that design to multiple garages? That way we could cut down on costs. So there could be one sort of unified design across these garages. And like I said, I'll send more information and I can send pictures of the area, but I think it could be a nice little secret, not so secret alleyway with art, just like Blagden Alley and other spaces in DC that have that. And from there, we're hoping to put art on more walls on 9.5 Street and in the U Street area.
Love it.
Okay, good job.
Thanks.
Blaze the trail. Thank you very much, Francois. I think that's it for tonight. Anything pressing?
Hasta
Okay,
luego.
thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Comp plan folks, we're hanging over. Don't forget.
Oh, I gotta
Oh,
go. I'm sorry.
I
Bye,
still
guys.
have one member.
bye.
Bye. Or am I staying? Was that a joke?
No, we were staying. Although
Okay.
Matthew has jumped. Kristen, LOL.
I'm here.
Do we hold on one second?